People ask me, is hypnosis mind control? Absolutely, it's mind control. It's your own ability to control your mind. Now, someone like me will help guide you change your subconscious mind so that you can control it, so it doesn't control you.
Jim Curtis, author, keynote speaker.
He's worked at both WebMD and Everyday Health and high-level roles. And now he's the head of brand at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Pharma Voices Top 100, influential and inspirational leader in health.
What would you say then is the most powerful law of the universe to support individuals in creating the reality of their dreams?
Yeah, that's such a good question.
Welcome back, everyone, to the School of Greatness. Very excited about our guest. We have the inspiring Jim Curtis in the house, who is a master hypnotherapist, NLP trainer, and coach to many. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Very excited about this. I'm already feeling the energy of our superpowers combining to really how we can be of service to the maximum amount of people watching and listening right now. And there's something we were talking about beforehand that I really liked that I wanted to ask you about first. And it's mind traps. The world is, a lot of people in the world are suffering. A lot of people are suffering financially, physically, emotionally, and in relationships. And you mentioned something really interesting that I thought might help people to get started with. And it's one, the mind traps that people are stuck in. So I want to ask you about what are mind traps and how people can get out of them to create more abundance and peace and freedom in their lives. Part two of this question is, how can we use directives versus questions to serve us in our life better? So what are the mind traps that hold us back from peace and abundance?
Yeah.
And how can we use directives over questions to set us free?
Those are good questions. I mean, so first of all, we believe that we're in this reality, right? We believe that everything that we're doing up until now is real, right? And it's based on all of our programming. So we've created and built up this reality, all the programming to it, to create our beliefs, to then allow us to see the world in the way that we see it, when we've learned that. So if we build up programming to see the world in the way that we see it, it is possible that we could have had different programming from different people that would allow us to see the world in a different way, and that it would be a different reality. And therefore, it is possible that we have multiple realities. Everybody's in a separate reality for the way that they see things, feel things, or are affected by things, right? So, and everybody that feels as though they're trapped in this one predicament, this one space, this one reality, just has to realize that they can break out. They created it, they can change it. But there are some mind traps that stop people from doing this. And one particular mind trap is called the negativity bias. And you've seen this negativity bias, we all have. So on social media, you get 1,000 really positive comments, and then you have one really negative comment. And which ones do you obsess about?
Most people focus on the negative.
Yes,
Yeah.
so you start obsessing about the negative comment, and it's our negativity bias that keeps us trapped in saying, oh, this is an issue in this world that I can't overcome. And when we start to become aware of that one, we start to focus on the positive, everything changes. Another one is our confirmation bias. So if we can become aware that we have a reticular activating system that is out there confirming all of our beliefs based on these programming. So you just have to say, what results am I creating in my life?
What's a big confirmation bias that most people in the world today are stuck in, or that's holding them back around money or relationships?
Yeah, a really great confirmation bias around relationships is I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, all right? And what happens?
You find people that continue to confirm that you're not lovable.
Exactly right. You get the breadcrumbs. You go on a date and the guy ghosts you again. You go on the date and the guy doesn't want to commit to a relationship, or the woman is texting all sorts of different men, or they are inconsistent, hot and cold, and you're like, why can't I just find a great person that really loves me and pays attention to me? But when you do find that, they become boring, right?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you have to reprogram yourself that boring is not boring, right? It's like, it's not boring if if it's healthy.
Yeah.
You know, just because it's up and down, hot and cold, doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yeah, or if you're like me, it came from a really crazy childhood, right, where everybody's yelling and
Yeah, me
screaming
too.
and making up, right? And so, like, if I was just even keel,
Peaceful.
peaceful, there was no sexual passion.
Yeah.
I needed peaks and valleys.
You need chaos.
Yeah,
Uncertainty.
yeah, I needed.
You needed your nervous system to be completely out of whack, unhealthy, for you to feel like this is love.
Yeah, totally. That's my passion.
Yeah.
That's my passion. I want makeup sex. That's what it was.
But that makes people sick.
It is. That's why people are miserable in the long run, because they don't realize that, oh, it's your programming, that something that's consistent and safe and like follows up and calls and all those things isn't boring. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you can be vulnerable. And that's when you're allowed to be vulnerable, that you can have a real true connection.
Well, the thing with that also is like you can actually expand. You can create true abundance from that place. When you're in constant hot, cold, like you said, or your nervous system is on edge constantly because you don't know what the person's going to do, or if they're going to give you the silent treatment, or if they're going to be love bombing you all day, or if you're somewhere in between,
Yeah.
you can't expand from that place.
Yeah.
For 2 decades, I was in different relationships where it's just seemed chaotic, right? In a lot of them. And I'm not blaming the other people. It's like I was a part of the problem too. But it wasn't until I was able to start healing my nervous system to create more stability in a relationship where I felt like I was able to expand everything around me, because internally I was expanding and healing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get stuck in not healing their body, their mind, their nervous system around their programming, like you said. And your programming equals your reality.
Yeah.
You're just going to stay stuck in that loop that's going to keep you feeling trapped, suffering. Like, why isn't this working in that type of relationship? So I like that you said
That's
that.
another mind trap.
Uh-huh.
That's another one of the mind traps.
So we got negativity bias, we got confirmation bias.
I love the sunk cost fallacy.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that? You may have heard it from your business.
Go ahead.
The sunk cost fallacy says, I've invested so much in this, I can't possibly let it go now. People, but we've been together for 2 years. Business, but I've put $1 million into it. And you can't let it go.
Let me just keep suffering and like in pain in this process, trying to make it work.
Throwing more good time after bad, more good money after bad. And then before you know it, another 2-3 years goes by, and you're like, boy, I wish I got out earlier. Got out earlier. So it takes a lot to be able to break free from that.
Yes.
And to just change, right? So that's another one.
Is there any more mind traps?
Yeah, there's so many of them. There's this self-awareness is what really allows you to recognize it. When you start to look at the results of your life, then you can understand what your traps are, right? Because sometimes you look at results and say, oh, I'm really good at that. I must have programming that's really good.
Yes.
And so I'm confirming every day that I can make money, or that I'm worthy, or that I'm lovable, and that's why I have this beautiful relationship. And then other results in your life that are like poor, you're like, okay, what are my traps here that I have? One really great one, one that I really love, one really great one is the backfire effect.
What's that?
And the backfire effect is part of your identity. So if you believe something is true, even if it's not, even if there's maybe another reality to it, another truth to it, and I challenge you with either a correct version or a different version, and you double down, and you're like, all of a sudden you're believing in yours even more because you have to fight for it. Because if you let it go, then some part of your identity or your reality crumbles, and you double down, and it's the backfire effect. That's a really good one.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just stay stuck in that. Now as a master hypnotist, hypnotherapist,
Yeah.
what have you learned over the last few years that you realize you were in the backfire effect for yourself for a long time? You were believing something to be true. You were programming yourself that this was a true way of being. That in the last few years, you had to wake up and question and start seeing it differently.
Yeah, 2 giant things for myself. One, I was always in business. I've started some really successful businesses and run some businesses, always under the thumb of some private equity or venture capital firm. And I realized that I was saying that this is the only way that I could make a lot of money. This is the only way that I could be successful. This is the only way that I could, feel as though I was worthy in life. And I was like, oh, but I'm really unhappy. And I'm working 80 hours a week, and I'm sick, like I'm out of shape, and I'm all these things. And so I realized that I was doubling down and saying, this had to be true. And when someone else was doing it differently, I would see them succeeding. I would say, but that's not me.
Really?
They have something that I don't. Or they're really good at this. I'd make an excuse until I had to snap out of it. What I call is these hypno-realizations.
Really?
Yeah, I could tell you a little bit more about that. The second thing, though, is my own health. Like when everybody else was healing, when everybody else had these miraculous breakthroughs at Joe Dispenza or wherever else, and I was like, no, they don't have what I have.
They don't have the pain that I have.
They don't have the pain that I have. They don't have the condition. They don't have what I went through. They don't have all those things. They're different. Right? And then I had to snap. I was like, oh, actually, that's not true.
Mm-hmm. And what was the pain or the condition that you had that was holding you down physically?
So when I had a lesion on my spinal cord, and it created damage to the nerves on my spinal cord. So for a while I was in a wheelchair. I was in tons of pain physically. I was stiff. I had muscle spasms. I still walk with a limp. But I was, it caused me not to exercise, not to date, not to do any of those things. I was in a place of like, this is my life.
Really?
Yeah, I went from an athlete to that, and then I went downhill.
Did you have a physical injury or an accident that caused this, or was it just over time this manifested?
I wish that I did. So I was undiagnosed for a real long period of time.
So you just had pain in your back and you were just kind of sore for a while?
Quicker than that. And anybody that's undiagnosed will understand this, because people, it's almost like when you're undiagnosed with an illness, you're looking so hard for the cancer. You want to put your finger on it.
Tell me what it is.
Give it a name, because when you give it a name, you can heal it. When it's undiagnosed, you're like, okay, every day is anxiety. I'm searching. So I woke up one day and I went into the shower and I couldn't feel my left foot. And it began to, move up my leg. And I went to get an MRI. And when I got that MRI, it showed that I had a tumor or a lesion on my spinal cord. And I didn't know what it was from. And then slowly it got worse. It started moving up to my waist, and then
the numbness.
Oh wow! And then my legs started to get weaker, and then the pain set in. And
So first it was tingling, numbness, then it became pain.
Yes.
Within weeks, months, years.
Within a year. And then it kept going downward after that.
And then the pain is just you start slouching, you start you don't want to walk, you're stiff, kind of all those symptoms that come with it.
Yeah, it was nerve pain, because, we have this intricate wiring in our body. And so the nerves were obstructed, so it's nerve pain. And then all of a sudden you're walking differently. And so now you're thrown off.
Yeah.
And so it's back pain.
Now you're out of alignment and your joint.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then there's what I realized, and this is what really got me into hypnosis, is that some things would make the pain go away altogether.
Like what?
Happiness.
Joy. What a concept, huh?
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Laughter. So all of a sudden these oxytocins would be flooding your body and I wouldn't feel the pain. I wouldn't have to take a drug. I'd be like, oh, okay. Or I'd go to a retreat. And for a week, I would focus on connection to a higher power, connection to spirit, connection to my true self, which hopefully we get into. And I'd be like, boy, at the end of this, I can walk almost perfectly and I have no pain. That's really interesting. So how do I speak to that part of myself that's controlling that? And so the closest thing that I could find besides, prayer was hypnosis. So you get in there in a theta state, which is a state, which is a trance state, which is a state that you can connect to quantum itself, if you believe in that. So it's, how do I start to make changes to my subconscious, to those parts of me that's clearly controlling things that I don't even know? And so that's what really got me excited about it.
Is the mind controlling or influencing the nervous system?
100%.
So is the pain that you had in your body, or the condition you had in your body, the nerve pain, the tumor, do you think that was caused from the way you were thinking your entire life? Or was that just some freak thing that happened over time based on environment or conditions or
No,
chance?
I don't know. There is a real part of me that believes that illness builds up through emotional stagnation, through a difficult childhood. Even some people say through lifetimes. If we can believe that our spirit, our energy never ceases to exist, and that we come back, and that in previous lifetimes, which Dolores Cannon and others, like Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters, focuses on past life hypnosis regression.
Wow.
So if you believe that, like, whatever you're carrying with you karmically is manifesting as illness today.
Wow.
And then one environmental trigger, and it's like, okay, what is this? So you see miraculous recovery with people just by changing and releasing stuff through their energetic and mental body. And so when I could release all my pain through releasing my sorrow, releasing my sadness and forgiveness, then, things really started to heat up.
So how old were you when this started to happen?
20.
20. And so for, 20 plus years, you're in pain, but you're also building businesses, you're making money, you're grinding 60, 80 hours a week.
Hyper successful.
Yeah, you're like accomplish, win,
Ignore.
Yeah, and just stuff the pain.
Yeah.
I keep thriving so I can feel some type of validation or.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. I'm bad in some way, therefore that's why my body's broken. My word broken would come up a lot. So what am I good at? Okay, let's focus over here and make it happen.
All my attention. And
All my attention.
Put all my worth into this success.
Right. So much so where I wouldn't go to physical therapy.
Right.
Right? And so that was my mind trap. Because I needed an identity that was worthy. So I figured out the easiest way to be worthy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. If you can, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know how that shows up in your life, or where you've been trapped emotionally or physically by putting all your attention in one area where good things happen and trying to stuff or hide the other areas that you've been afraid of or ashamed of or whatever you don't feel good enough. So when you started learning hypnotherapy and really diving into it deeper, what was the thing that was a big aha moment for you that gave you more healing and freedom in your body and in your mind?
Yeah. With the hypnotherapy, the hypnosis, the big aha moment was that we can get into a state that we allow our critical mind to be quieted. This critical mind that's always analyzing. And we can start to reframe different experiences in our lives. We can either even relive events in our lives in a completely different way, because our subconscious mind and our energy body doesn't know time and space and time, doesn't know reality and fantasy, doesn't know those differences. We can actually reframe, quantum leap all the way back and change experiences that we've had by experiencing that emotion under hypnosis and have profound effects for the future and current version of yourself. That's kind of mind-blowing to even say that. But that's one of the huge things. So I started to do that with myself, with my own therapist, with my own people that would go to hypnosis. And I learned self-hypnosis, and I would start to do that with myself. So I don't meditate anymore. I go into self-hypnosis.
If someone has never experienced hypnosis or therapeutic hypnosis to support their minds and their body get into an energetic state of peace and calm and quieting the critical mind into the more, I guess, positive mind, or into a more way of being that serves the mind and body for expansion and abundance. And if someone wanted to tap into a method or a mantra or a process that would allow them to do this for a minute a day,
Yeah.
of self-hypnosis,
Yeah.
and they wanted to simplify it,
Yeah.
what would that 30-second, 1-minute self-hypnosis technique look like for them?
Yeah. All right. Well, good. We'll do a minute. We'll do a minute. And so all we have to do, right, are just take a really deep breath and look directly up into your forehead and hold your breath. And then release it and close your eyes gently. And take another one and look all the way up into your forehead. Looking up, and close it and release your eyes all the way down. Take another really deep breath and look all the way up into your forehead. Already, and release it. And now all you have to do is focus on my voice, and also, if you're doing this yourself, just notice all the things that you can hear at once. And then start to notice your right hand. And with your eyes closed, you can just notice your right hand, and if your fingertips start to tingle on your right hand. And as your fingertips start to tingle on your right hand, start to notice whether you can make the fingertips tingle on the left hand. Good. And now as your fingertips tingle on both hands, noticing the energy that's so prevalent in your body, you can just begin to count down from 5, knowing that you'll go a little bit deeper every number that you take. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here is your state of relaxation, deepness, complete trance, where you can rejuvenate and just tell yourself something. The most empowering thing that you can possibly tell yourself. The most empowering thing that you can tell yourself starts with the I am. I am is the spell of creation. It is divinity itself. It is creation. And so whatever you want now here, down here, you can just mention, I am whatever it is. Good. You're completely rejuvenated, completely empowered, feeling the energy of the universe almost flowing through you, the creation itself. And you can just start to come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, eyes wide open and awake, right back with us. It's like taking a little bit of a Valium, right?
It's really relaxing.
Yeah, but it also starts to tell yourself, like, oh, I can emotionally regulate, and then I can start to code into my system exactly who I really truly am. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, the first 3 I ams that I thought of are I am loved, I am whole, I am peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you do that technique from looking up into your head, which is a natural hypnotic trance state, and then releasing the breath, counting backwards, counting down, and getting to a place where you can actually speak to yourself, it's incredibly powerful.
Because the critical mind keeps us in what type of state? If we're always in criticizing, not
Evaluating,
enoughness.
more information. Let me see where the issue is. Let me project the future. Let me make sure I'm safe. Let me test this and see if I need it, right? It's ego, it's critical, it's safety. And the truth is, when we release all that, is I am what? What is it? What is the feeling when you release fear and planning and purpose, and you release all that? The one thing that's left is I am.
I am what?
What is it for you? When you release fear, when you release planning, when you release anxiety, when you release sadness, if none of that was there, what would be there?
And the first thing that came to mind is I'm enough.
Yeah.
But I am love,
Yes.
I am joy, I am
Exactly
abundance, I am expansion, all these things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I am love, I am expansion, I am joy. It's all these uplifting, powerful things that are, like we've been programmed, we've been given. And that all these other parts of us kind of cloud.
But if we're in the critical mind consistently throughout the day or for many hours, it's going to put us into a more state of stress, it sounds like, or a more state of concern, or I don't know if lack is the right word, but less of an abundant, joyful, playful state.
100%. 100%. Now we need the critical mind, right? We have so much information coming that we need to process. We need to it's part of the human experience. But when it becomes too hyperactive, when we're not getting into, kind of our subconscious, when we're letting our subconscious rule us instead of, people ask me, is hypnosis mind control? Right? And most people say, no, hypnosis is not mind control. I say, absolutely, it's mind control. Yes, it's mind control. It's your own ability to control your mind. Now, someone like me will help guide you so that you can control your mind. Change your subconscious mind so that you can control it, so it doesn't control you. And that's the most powerful part of it. You start to have, instead of manifestations, you start to have real realizations. Like realizing that I am not separate from all this. That I am not just the wave, I am the ocean, right? And that I can actually have what it is, this person, this thing, this activity. I don't need to feel anxious. I don't need to feel separateness. I can feel as though I'm one with it, and that's the true feeling of wholeness and abundance.
What would you say then is the most powerful law of the universe to support individuals in creating the reality of their dreams?
Yes, that's such a good question. And it is I am. So just the words I am. So Neville Goddard, way back when, he found in the Bible this saying, I am that I am, right? And if you've ever listened to Deepak Chopra, he talks about I am. A lot of religion, Buddhist, Vedic, all sorts of different philosophies about I am. But it is the spell that is cast that will manifest. If it's I am bad, you guaranteed what you will get. If you can start to say I am and listening to you, the words that you use and starting to feel, I am is the creation. It is the thought that the universe is experiencing itself through us. And therefore, when we say I am, we create. Because what our identity believes that we are, we have. So what I believe I am, I have in life, not what I want. What I want, I'm constantly searching for out here, out here, out here. What I believe that I am, I get every time.
It's interesting because when I think back in my childhood, I used to think internally or say to myself internally and say externally a lot of I am negative sentences. I am a horrible student, I'm bad, I'm this, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, whatever it might be. I'm not good enough, all those different things. Or I'm slow, I'm a slow learner, or I can't do that, or whatever this is. These, I guess you'd say spells or,
Mantras.
Mantras that I would say, either consciously or unconsciously, I was then creating. So what you're saying, what you're thinking, you're starting to create.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's who you are, but it's what you're manifesting.
It really is. It really is. And our identity is based in I am this, right? And our identity is based in beliefs of what you are. And your beliefs and identity is what you create and what you manifest. It's that easy what you see around you.
What was the I am mantras that you would say growing up?
Growing up, I was always, I am not good at this. I'm not good at math. When there was, I think I was diagnosed by a teacher in school, or I was held back in the first grade because I was diagnosed that I had like slight dyslexia or something like that. And so I would say stuff like that. Like I have slight dyslexia. And that wasn't true at all. Like that has had no impact on my life. So there's a lot of I ams. Yeah. And it goes both ways. You can see what you're good at.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, I have a great program. I have a great I am for that.
What would you say then is the difference between the law of attraction versus the law of assumption?
Yes. So the law of assumptions are what you assume to be true about yourself. And so I believe that the law of attraction will never really work for you until you start to recognize what you're assuming to be true about yourself. Then you'll just be consciously trying to attract something by wanting it and feeling it. But really, your operating system, what you assume to be true, right? Those things that you assume you're capable of, that you assume that you can have, are the blocks in the way of that. That's the truth that you believe. And then you're like, okay, I have this operating system that I'm not looking at, but it has all these assumptions, and now I'm going to go out and try to attract something. And why isn't it coming? It's because your operating system has assumptions you haven't looked at yet.
Let us say, I really struggled in school, right? And all of my confirmations proved that I struggled in school based on the test results, based on how long it took for me to study every single night and still not understand the concepts all through, kindergarten until college. And so let's say that all I saw was evidence that I was a slow learner and I struggled in school.
Yeah.
It was an assumption, right? It was an assumption, but I was like, but it might be true. There's some truth to it because of the results I'm getting as well.
Yeah.
How do I not lie to myself and say, actually, I'm a great learner and this is easy for me? How do I start to reprogram myself without lying based on evidence that's shown, actually, you haven't been good at this, or you have been in bad relationship after relationship, or all these guys did leave you, or all these girls did screw you over, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you not lie to yourself with a false assumption, but start to be of greater service to yourself with an empowering assumption so that you can remove the blocks to manifest more?
That's interesting. Because are there really any truths or any lies? Meaning, like, perhaps there was a truth that in that way of learning that you didn't resonate with that way of learning.
Yeah.
But would there have been a different way of learning that would say that you picked it up really quickly? Or did you learn other things really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like, was there plays on the football field?
Yeah, of course.
That you were like, oh, I'm a better learner at this.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore the truth could be that you're an excellent learner. And so we start to think that, like, oh, I'm not doing something in a way that is an expectation, and therefore it creates a belief about this, an assumption. But and that if I go against that empirical evidence, then it's a lie. And how do I be practical and real?
Mm-hmm.
And breaking free, and what I do with people is like, oh, the truth is there's no reality.
Yes.
There is no lie and there's no truth. It's the matrix. There's no spoon, right? The truth is that you can see even money. Take money to a desert island, it has worthlessness. It's worthless. So the truth is you're probably a fantastic learner. And so anybody or the truth is, like, you're probably incredibly dateable or incredibly lovable, and that you just need to see it from a different reality, which is when you find the person that resonates with you, or when you find the modality of learning, or when you find X, instead of the empirical evidence says, because there's no real evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say then is the biggest thing that blocks people from manifesting more?
So the blocks of manifesting more is their belief that they need to go down a particular avenue to get it, right? So if I believe that I need to do it this way to have more money, but listen, perhaps you don't have to be in finance. I worked in finance. I worked on the floor of the American Stock Exchange. And is it true that I would never have made much money on the floor of the American Stock Exchange? Yes. And so I recognized that, but it didn't mean that I wasn't capable of making money. I was able to. I just had to find the right avenue to do it. And so you can have more love, you can have more money, realizing that there's no one reality. It's all subjective.
Yeah.
You can have whatever reality you want.
What do you think is the biggest thing that blocks you from attracting more, manifesting more, and raising your frequency every single day in this moment?
That's a great question. What is it that is blocking me? I think that what I'm still working on myself, and the parts of me that I'm still working on that's blocking me, is my clarity, right? Or my real
Like on where you're headed or what you want, or
no, about I'll take on too many things. I'll take on too many things, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to be able to do all these things, and now I'm going to have to find people to help me. And so I think what blocks me is that, okay, I'm going to commit to this one thing and go all for it. And even if I think I can help someone over here or here, I'm just going to commit to this one thing and do it. And so by not doing that, I think that I spread myself too thin.
so you put yourself into focusing on one thing, and you feel like you can't help more people or more projects at once, or you feel like by taking on so much, it all suffers?
I think by taking on so much that I'm splintering my focus, it all suffers.
Yeah, your energy is spread thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I I was at a mastermind years ago in Fiji with Tony Robbins. It was like a week-long thing with Tony Robbins.
Business mastery.
No, it was like a 20-person like private mastermind with him,
Wow.
not a business mastery thing.
Yeah.
It was in 2018 or 2019. And I think it was 2019. And we all went around and we're like in his private resort, right? With like the ocean behind us, and we're like sitting out and we're barefoot, you know, with like Hawaiian shirt type of vibe, like just a little hanging out, like full day with Tony and my buddy Dean Graciosi. They were putting on this mastermind. And you know, there's 20 of us and everyone's got a $100 million exit somewhere or something else, or a big influencer or whatever. And everyone went around and like asked a question. And I think I was the last person to ask, or one of the last couple of people. So I got to see everyone's kind of questions, and there were a lot of breakthroughs and realizations. So it's kind of like, they all kind of asked something maybe I would have asked. So something came to me for whatever reason, because I kind of prided myself as I used to be a decathlete in track and field. I was an All-American decathlete, which is 10 events as a one event thing in track and field, right? It's like I wasn't great at one event, but I was good at 10, which allowed me to be great at the event of the decathlon.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
It was cool, right? Because I wouldn't have been able to accomplish my dream of being an All-American athlete in one event. But I was good enough at everything that I could excel in that event of the decathlon. And so I kind of like took that into life and business, where I was like, okay, I'm going to be great at everything. I'm going to be good at everything, right? I'm going to try all these different products and revenue streams and all these different things at once, and try to accumulate them all to get to where I want to be. But I found myself energetically drained trying to whack-a-mole every product and project and thing that I was doing at once, to try to get them all to excel in being great.
Yeah.
And so I was talking, my question was something around like, you know, how do I manage all these things? How do I make all these things better? You know, I'm doing like 10 or 12 different things, and I feel like I'm like a 7 out of a 10 on everything.
It's pretty good.
You know what I mean? I was like, it's pretty good, but it's like, I feel like I've been like a 7 out of 10 for the last decade.
Yeah.
And he goes, do you want to be a 7 out of a 10 type of guy, or do you want to be a 10 out of a 10? I was like, yeah, I think I want to be more of a 10 out of 10. He's like, you got to learn to focus your energy on like a couple of things, you know, and really until you get the process and the people in place to accelerate those things, then you could take on something else. Unless you like being a 7 out of a 10. And I was like, no, I just don't like that.
Yeah.
So it was a few years of eliminating certain big revenue streams that brought in a lot of cash, but kind of drained me energetically, or
So
just
smart.
pulled away. And I started going all in on more of just the show being the main thing, and everything started to grow, and the impact started to grow as well in that few year transition. So it's not like it all happened overnight and it was like this effortless thing. There was pain, there was loss, there was grief, there was like a letting go of an old identity, but an emerging new identity stepping forward, which has its challenges. So it's interesting to think about. But that's where you're at now. You're getting this audience growth and awareness, and so you have more opportunities coming your way.
I have more opportunities, and I can't help everyone, although I want to.
Of course.
And what will help the most amount of people? But there's two things that came up with you said it. Like I've had a chance to work with Tony and Sage, and like there's no one in my better.
He's great.
So that question he asked you was NLP, because it made you think of, you know, really the decision and the avenue that you wanted to go down. And so that's a really powerful use of allowing your mind to kind of like direct itself with just one simple question.
And what's the difference between questions and directives?
Yeah, directives, if he was to say to you specifically a question that was, if you weren't to splinter your energy over there, what would you accomplish?
Yeah.
Or, you know, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Instead, he could have just said, don't splinter your energy. You know, do this. And you say, okay, well, it's Tony Robbins.
I'm going to do what he tells me to do. Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you empowered yourself by thinking like, oh my God, what could possibly be possible if I didn't do that, right? That's why with compliments, it's the same thing. Sometimes people can't take a compliment. Like, you look so your hair is so wonderful.
Why is it so hard for people to receive compliments?
Because they have that inner voice that says, they're lying, that's not true, I'm not good enough, I looked at myself in the mirror today and I actually hate my hair, whatever it is. But if you say something like, I wonder if you know how good your hair looks today, you say, oh, I wonder if that is true. Okay. All right, I'm thinking about that. And yeah, you know what? I think it does. You know, it has much more of an impact.
So as opposed to saying, I love the way your hair looks, or you have great hair today, as opposed to like directing, you have great hair today, or you have great energy today. If someone's not feeling that, they're not going to believe it right away.
Totally.
If they have a critical mind.
Yeah.
If they have a clear mind and they're open to receiving it, they might say, oh, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Or they have a belief that their energy is good.
Yeah, they're going to say, thank you so much, I appreciate you acknowledging that, and you look great too, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if they're critical, which is probably a majority of people,
Yeah.
they are going to deflect or say, no, I'm just kind of having a bad day, but thanks, or whatever. They're going to be dismissive of it first.
Yeah, or they're going to say thank you and feel awkward that they got the compliment, or they won't really believe it.
Because they don't believe it.
Yeah.
But if we compliment someone by saying, I wonder if you realize how good this looks, or how your energy is, or that you've got a great smile today, or whatever,
Yeah.
then it allows someone to reflect on the compliment in a different way.
Yes, it allows the subconscious mind to actually, subconscious mind loves questions. So it answers questions, good and bad. So it will allow it to answer, oh, I wonder, and then, yeah, and then you added the positive aspect of it. So it's like, oh, I wonder why that is. Oh, it must be true. And so that's, it's an NLP tactic, neuro-linguistic programming, but it's super effective to get below the critical mind into the subconscious to actually have someone receive something and start to change. That's what Tony did with you. That's so powerful.
What's another way that someone could compliment besides I wonder? What's another like entryway to complimenting with a question?
Did you know? Start with a preposition like perhaps. So start with something that has the mind thinking before you ask the compliment. And be specific. Be specific about what they're wearing. So if you're going on a date, and instead of with a beautiful person, man or woman, that probably gets a lot of compliments. Or perhaps the alarms will go up if they feel like they're being love bombed with compliments or something like that. So find something specific and compliment it. Did you know how amazing it is that you came on time?
Wow.
Did you know how amazing it is that you wore that dress? I love that color. Like, oh my God, yeah, that's an interesting loophole to get into someone's, to allow them to really accept, a compliment.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because most people are stuck in stress and anxiety mode pretty consistently with what's going on in their lives, or what they're consuming, the content, or they're judging and assessing, or they're in criticism mode, or they're in envy mode, or they're in self-loathing mode. So if someone is feeling stressed and anxious consistently, what's a way that they can raise their frequency to start to feel better on a daily basis?
Yeah. We're constantly in this high delta, beta, scroll, compare. So we're constantly, you can start to raise your energy just by emotional regulation. And so when you emotionally regulate, you realize that I'm here now in the present moment. And by the way, this really helps with this realization or this manifestation, that when we start to emotionally regulate that I'm here now in this present moment, that we relax, and there's so much more that's capable of. And so we start to ask ourselves two things. What's true? Meaning, is that really true? Or is it a thought? Could there be another truth to it? Right? Is there any other way that's a truth? Meaning if I was to cut your body open and look within your brain and your organs, is that truth in there? And if not, then it's in our thoughts and beliefs. And if that's true, then there's 50 truths, depending on 50 different people who look at it the same way. And the second part is, a lot of people just kind of feel like they're doing it wrong. And I say this a lot. And I say it after every meditation, after every hypnosis, after every coaching, you're doing it exactly right. This is the school of life, no pun intended. And the curriculum is difficult. And to think that you're doing it wrong, it's not true. It's not true. You're doing it exactly right. All these troubles, all these circumstances, all these things, you're meant to experience in some way.
Yeah.
Because the consciousness says that it's not happening to us. It's happening through us, for us, as us. As your consciousness rises, and it's possible to raise your consciousness, grow your consciousness from victims happening to me, why this boy, this man, this woman, this job, this person, this life, this illness, to it's happening for, through, and as. And it's like, oh, okay, that kind of changes. That even opens up my chest a little bit.
Why is something challenging or bad happening for us?
Perhaps it's a lesson. Perhaps, if you believe in something greater than yourself, maybe it's a karmic lesson. Maybe it's a lesson that will help us get to a higher elevation of mind and spirit. Maybe it was meant to happen so you could help someone else. Maybe it was for me, this illness was incredibly difficult. The stress at work was incredibly difficult. All the things that I've dealt with in my life have been really difficult. But I would not be in this moment here across the table from you if everything didn't happen. And so I'm insanely grateful for it.
How old are you, Jim?
49.
49. So almost 3 decades of pain or a challenge that you've been working to overcome and get back into wholeness and healing, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of pain. Like every day, I'm assuming you woke up with pain and you struggled to walk and you had doubts or challenges, at least in the first couple decades, it sounds like. In the last 10 years, it sounds like you've really transformed your thinking and your energy, and you started to really heal and create wholeness from the inside out, right? But that's hard when you have chronic pain like that, specifically in your back.
Yeah.
It feels like debilitating, right? It just feels like you're limited to what you can do. Physically, emotionally, you can only move at a certain speed. It feels limiting, right? Would you take it back?
No.
Really?
I know what people feel like when they wake up in the morning and they're like, excuse my language,
Yeah.
they're like, ugh. They wake up in the morning and they're just like, getting out of bed is hard because their body hurts. And then it's like immediately your mind hurts,
Yeah.
right? Because inflammation of the mind inflames the body even more. So it's vice versa, it's working against each other. And then you're like, okay, now I have this pain and it's like zapping my energy, and I have this physical condition that's making me different from people, and I don't know what it is. And so now I'm obsessing about it. Now I'm unworthy and all those things. And that's an incredibly, now try to date.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly painful place. That's why I know people so well, because I've been there. But there is relief on the other side because of the mind-body connection. When you can start to realize, okay, this isn't happening because I'm a bad person, and there are things I can do to get out of this pain, that the mind is miraculous and the body is too. And if we are actually a projection of something bigger, meaning like there is more, we are not our bodies, we are not our jobs, we are not our clothes, we are not our bank accounts. There's something actually bigger. The awareness of all of that, above it all. We can all kind of like say, what is that voice in my head that's asking these questions? That doesn't feel pain. And definitely not subconscious about the way it walks. Right? That is love. And when you can start to tap into that, I've had a couple of these epiphanies that I would just break down in tears of relief because I tapped into this, oh, that's relief. And that relief is love. And when you can tap into that through some of these techniques that we've been talking about today, everything gets easier, the pain goes away. And there have been so many actual clinical studies that using hypnosis, meditation, and other things, the people with chronic pain, it eliminates it. It eliminates the need for opioids.
Self-hypnosis.
Self-hypnosis, different forms of TM, transcendental meditation, and other forms that gets into the subconscious mind in such a way that the mind-body connection, you start to alleviate the inflammation that causes a lot of this pain.
Because in a sense, I mean, it's your mind interpreting the pain of the body. Isn't that correct? Like the pain is really just the mind or the brain sending a signal of like, oh, there is pain in this joint or this muscle or this bone area, whatever it might be, this part of your body. It's the mind that's perceiving that, correct?
Yeah.
And so if you can calm the minds and almost get out of your body or above your body or through that pain with calm mind, you almost don't feel the pain anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's the physical and the energetic. So, one, we have the biggest pharmacy in the world in our bodies.
Yes.
All the best drugs that pharmaceutical companies make.
Can't replace it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And they just enhance what's in our body. So, like the opioid receptors and the opioid receptors and all those drugs are just being blocked so that we don't feel pain. So, if an outside drug can do that, and is releasing drugs within our body or creating changes, then our body can do it.
Yes.
In fact, there have been, I love the story of this mountain climber. He was climbing, and he got into a predicament where he was going to fall. And he reached up and he held on to a part of the mountain or a stick or just something that was sticking out. And he felt no pain, and an overwhelming calmness. And then he was able to pull himself up, and he climbed over and leaned himself against the rock, and he had like an out-of-body euphoria experience, right? And all that was his mind releasing DMT, all the opioids, all the oxytocin, so that he could have a painless death.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where he died.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
But he
in
survived,
case he
but,
would,
like,
it would
yeah.
be a, yeah.
And so, but he
Wow.
had a complete euphoria. So if we are capable of that through deep trance states, we can recreate it. And we can eliminate this fear and this pain. And then there's this energetic state that when you grow the energy, and Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this. I know he's been on here and I love him. You can start to grow the energy within your body and your meridians. Like some miraculous things happen. I've seen some totally miraculous things happen.
Yeah.
So for those people who are like suffering physically because they've had a breakup, or suffering physically because they're unhappy or they have pain in their body, and there's hope.
But again, a lot of people live in pain and then they stress and have anxiety around having the pain and trying to find solutions to get out of it, which causes more stress or more sense of control or consuming energy around what do I do to get out of this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable enough. So how do we tell the difference between our intuition and our anxiety speaking to us?
That's a great point, especially that vicious cycle of I need to do, like, how do I get out of this, right? And you can step back and say this, listen, I'm not wrong for having this. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not wrong, and I can also find a path forward, right? So like stepping out of the weeds for a second, just to say, this is happening and it's okay. And now let's find a path through. And so the next question, what was the next question?
The difference between understanding your intuition or
Right.
your anxiety speaking to us.
Yes. So often, and we can talk about muscle testing and kind of how you feel it in your body too, because intuition is expansive and you usually feel it in your body and it doesn't create a lot of thought. It's a knowing, like it's kind of maybe you get a little voice, or you just kind of feel this expansiveness in your body. And you're like, that's the right one. If you walk into an apartment, you're with a person, you feel that energy, it resonates. With anxiety, or it starts to feel it in your stomach or in your chest, and then you start to think it obsessive. Like you start to find all the avenues, the algorithm runs, and you're trying to figure it out. But the intuition really tells you. And you can start to, so the other day I'm swimming, and I'm in the pool, and I'm doing my typical workout, and I start to think about all the things I have to do. And then I started to think about, oh God, I don't have the right resources to get these done. And then I was like, oh, and I didn't respond to these 5 people who are waiting. And I literally was getting slower and slower until I just stood up in the middle of the pool. And I just found myself standing up in the middle of the pool. And I was like, oh, I have to really practice what I preach.
Wow.
And so what I started to think about, I have a 17-year-old son who's amazing. I got this dog that I love. I got all these awesome things happening with work and community. I got my family, all these amazing things. I started to think about the sunset that I really love. And I started to swim again more powerfully, stronger than I ever did before. And I started to say, okay, when you focus on the positive and the outcomes that you want, your body responds. And you can actually do muscle testing.
Yeah.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, of course. It's so interesting you say that because I remember my senior year playing college football. Second game of the season, my dad left to go on a vacation with his girlfriend at the time. My parents were divorced many years before then. And he got into a car accident that left him in a coma for almost 3 months.
Oh my God.
In New Zealand. So I'm in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio. I'm 22, I'm a senior. And he gets into this car accident. And I get a call at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night before a game on Saturday morning. So Friday night before the game. And we don't know if my dad is alive or dead. We just know like he was in an accident, he's in a coma, and it's all the way on the other side of the world. This is in 2005. And so it was a lot of uncertainty and anxiety. The next day, I'm like, do I play in this game? Do I like get on a plane and go to New Zealand right now, which is going to take 24 hours to get there? Like, what do I do?
Right.
Is my dad alive? Is he dead? It was just this uncertainty. And it was a lot of stress going to that game. The second to last play of the game, I break 3 ribs.
Oh my God.
We lose the game in the last minute. I break 3 ribs and I feel like, oh, my season's over. I don't know if my dad's alive or dead right now. And this is really sad. All of this is sad because it was my dream to play professionally and I broke 3 ribs. And I'd broken the same 3 ribs the year before in a football game.
Oh my God.
So I was out for the whole season the year before recovering from these broken ribs. And it took me like months to recover. And the same 3 broke again. Someone hit me from the side as I caught a ball and speared me, and I could hear the cracks. And so I'm just, all this pain and stress and anxiety and overwhelm is in my mind right now of like, my season is over again. I don't know if my dad is alive or dead. What am I going to do? And my sisters ended up going to New Zealand. I stayed back because this pain was like throbbing. And to get on a flight for 24 hours with like broken ribs, I was like, I need to wait anyways if I'm going to do this. So I stayed back and they got there and he's in a coma for this first week while I'm in pain. And I just made a decision. I go, I'm going to heal my body. I'm going to come back and I'm going to play the rest of this season, whatever it takes. And I'm going to do it in service of my father. And energetically, I'm going to send him love and inspiration while he's in a coma. I get chills thinking about it because within 2 weeks, I heal my ribs. It's kind of like this miraculous thing.
Yeah.
Now, I put a pad over it, so I'm not just like, I keep hitting it over and over. I like put a pad over it, but I'm able to run, jump, catch, everything, move how I need to. And I get back on the field. I miss 2 games and I come back. And every day in practice and every game, I would put tape around my wrists and on my cleats and just put "for Dad," and I put his name. So I was playing for something bigger than myself.
Yeah,
I was playing to send energy so that he would heal or recover or get out of this coma. And by playing for something bigger than me, I felt like it made me heal faster. It made me stronger. And the crazy thing, Thanksgiving week, he woke up. So a couple months later, he woke up. Now he had a very long, he never fully recovered, and he struggled for 17 years after that until he passed. But it was a powerful way to think beyond the pain and beyond the brokenness physically or spiritually that I was experiencing with my father, where I wasn't sure if he was going to live or not. And it gave me a sense of energy to get out of myself, something greater than the sadness I was facing, the anxiety, the worry that I was facing, the loss that I might be facing. And it allowed me to put my energy and attention towards healing and sending love through the journey of how I'm going to show up every single day, how I'm going to practice with love and joy, how I'm going to, come back and do my best to help the team win. And I had the best season of my life, missing 2 games with 3 broken ribs.
Wow. That gave me chills.
Yeah, it was powerful, but it was, I could have easily gone into, why did this happen to me? My dream is over. All these things are over, and it did do that for a few days until I made a decision. And a lot of it was just directing myself, like you said, and creating new mantras, new beliefs, and reprogramming. No, I am gonna create a healing for myself. I am going to show up every single day in appreciation and gratitude, even though I may have lost my dad. And I'm going to do the best that I can do. And it was a powerful 2-3 month journey, while there was so much uncertainty with if he was going to live or die and if I could play. But it was powerful for me for that season of life when I was 22, just trying to figure out what to do with my life at that time.
Yeah. And some people may be listening to that and be like, yes, but my sadness is too overwhelming. I can't do that. And that's a mind trap of the backfire. If
I get it.
And it's completely possible, but it's also because you had a mission and a vision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if we don't figure out what our mission and vision in his life, or something greater than us, than like, make money, have a fancy car, then we will stay stuck in ruts longer, because we don't have like that greater something propelling you.
Yeah.
And to have a real mission and vision, you got to figure out what, a little bit of what you want, and say, what is that driving force that is going to drive me in my vision, so when things get tough, I can be resilient.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I like around, having a mission and a vision, like you said there, is creating a season of life within that mission and vision. I had a 3-month window. It was a season. It wasn't like, okay, the next 10 years I have to do this thing.
Yeah.
It was, this season is over in 3 months. What can I do within this season? What is my mission right now? To heal, to recover, to be the best I can and practice every day, to play my best in the games, and finish this season the best I can within the next 3 months. And I think sometimes people, I'm not saying you always need a timeline of things, but I think having a season of life, knowing this is what I'm up to right now. It may not be forever, but this is what I'm creating for this year, this 6 months, this month, to get me out of this rut and into this process. So
achievable.
Yeah, something in a season timeline.
Yeah.
I got a couple final questions for you, Jan.
Okay.
One of them is, what's the difference between creating results by focusing on the outcome you want versus the outcomes you don't want?
All right. Well, you're going to create whatever you focus on. Right? So constantly we start to focus on what's missing or what we don't want. Meaning, so I had these terrible pains in my stomach. And I was like, oh geez, something's wrong. This is not, I didn't need something bad. This is an issue. And so I tried to ignore it. And finally I went to the emergency room in Manhattan near my house, which is, very crowded. And it is near a methadone clinic. It's a very difficult place. People are detoxing. People are very ill. It's very crowded. So they admit me. They put me on a gurney. I'm in a hallway. There's no room. You're just in a hallway on a gurney. And I had maybe 2 years earlier been to the emergency room, spent like 13 hours in there. And so I went in at like 7 p.m. And so all I'm thinking about is, this is a major issue. I'm going to be here all night. Who's going to take care of my dog? I have things to do. Maybe I have to stay overnight. And it's like, they're never going to get to me. And so I'm laying on the gurney. I start to really freak out and stress about the things that I don't want. And the pain is getting worse. Worse and worse and worse. The more I think about it, the more I stress that the pain is getting worse. And so the nurse comes over. I was like, how long is this going to take? And she's like, expect to be here for hours. And so it's getting so bad that I'm laying on this gurney in the middle of people are detoxing. I'm in the middle of the wing. It's a mess. And I start to think to myself, I need to, again, practice what I preach. What is the outcome I want? What is the real outcome I want? I want this pain to go away. Okay, what does that feel like? That feels like joy. That feels relief. That feels like excitement. What else do I want? I want the doctor to come and say, there's no problem, you can leave. Okay, what else do I want? I want to be out of here by 9:30.
Yeah.
I want to be out by 9:30.
Yeah.
It's literally, this is a 2.5 hour experience for me. I want in and out. And so the nurse comes over again. I was like, listen, what's the next steps here? And she's like, well, you got to get this imaging. How long? We're pretty backed up. It's like an hour. Okay, so like something's going to happen here where the woman comes out and says, you're ready. We're ready for you. Literally in 15 minutes, the woman came out and said, we're ready for you. And as soon as she said, we're ready to take your imaging, my pain went like from a 10 to a 7. I was like, okay, this is good. We're getting somewhere. I like that. And so I get the imaging. It's very quick. I come back and say, how long do results usually take? Oh, about an hour and 2, because we're backed up. I started to think, okay, what's the best result here? Okay, they come back quickly with quick imaging. And then within 20 minutes, they came back. And they said, we got bad news. You have appendicitis. I was like, this is not the outcome I want.
Man.
How did I do all this work and still get a really difficult outcome? Because they have to do surgery on that, right? And so,
Is it like appendix? So you take your appendix out, or something else?
That's surgery. That's emergency surgery.
Right then.
Right then. So I started to say, okay, that's not the outcome that
That's not good.
but I'm still not going to go there.
Really?
I'm still not going to go there. I'm going to continue to focus on the outcome that I want. And I said I'd be out of here by 9:30. And the surgeon's going to come down and say that there was a mistake or something. But what's the outcome that I want? The feeling that I want. And I started to focus on this expansion, this feeling that I want. And it's like, this is not happening to me. This is not my reality. I'm focusing only on the outcome that I want. And that's ease and joy and me walking out of here with relief at 9:30 p.m. And so the surgeon does come down and he's like, listen, we don't really do surgery that much anymore for appendicitis unless it's about to burst. And in fact, we could probably give you some antibiotics now. And if it flares up again, you go see a surgeon on your own time and you get it taken out quickly.
Really?
And here's a surgeon's name that is associated with the hospital. I'm like, so I can leave? And they're like, yeah, you just get this like a bag of IV of antibiotics, and she puts it in. She's really quick about it, and it goes in about 10 minutes. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. And then I'm just like, I get up. I said, that's it, I can go. I'm going to sign these papers. I go, I walk out the door, and I'm like, let me just check. I go reach in my phone, and I check 9:32.
Wow.
9:32.
Wow.
So when you focus on the outcomes that you want, instead of the outcomes that I don't want, oh my God, this is painful, this is terrible, life gets easier. You manifest what you want, and also your pain goes down. I was walking out of there, and the antibiotics didn't take effect that quickly, but my pain had gone from a 10 to a 3.
Yeah, you struggle walking some days, but you were skipping out of there. You're like, I'm jumping out of it.
I was
Yeah.
literally walking so easily out of there. So like, when you focus on the outcomes that you want, you get the outcomes when you want. When you focus on the outcomes that you don't want, you get the outcomes you don't want.
What are your favorite affirmations for abundance then that people can say to themselves every single day?
Yeah. So I really love studying the I am frequency. That's of creation and wholeness, that you are not the separate wave, you are the ocean. And so I use I am. And so like, I am money. Like, I am the energy of money. I am the frequency of money. I am abundance itself. Money flows to me easily. I am, oftentimes when you just repeat the mantra, I am, it's like the message to the universe that you are whole, one, and complete. And so I don't say anything. I feel my energy expand. And I did it to prepare for this interview today. I did it to prepare for everything. It's such miraculous things, because when you're not separate, you're one with everything that you want. And so the I am mantra, just sitting in a quiet place, feeling your energy expand with I am. Positive thoughts about what you want, I am. I am. I am that I am.
And just repeating that at any moment throughout the day.
Yeah, and then with your affirmations, you can put what you want at the end of I am, and then using the question format, right? Even start to say, how is it that I am? How is it that I am so worthy of money?
So I mean, show me universe is what you're saying.
Yeah. So like the questions before that we were asking the subconscious mind, the NLP, you can start to use questions within your affirmations. Like, how is it that I am so good at making money? Right? And the subconscious mind isn't going to say, no, you're not good at making money. That's not its job. The subconscious mind is to say, answer that question. How is it that I'm so good at making money? Remember, well, you're industrious. When you were 10, you had a paper route. You knew how to do it.
Yeah, you're resourceful, you're this, you're that, you got this job, you did this thing when you showed up this way, so keep doing more of that.
Exactly right.
You got great content on social media, Jim Curtis 1, I believe it is, right? On Instagram. And
Jim Curtis 1.
Jim Curtis 1 everywhere. And there was a video you talked about, which are the top 4 signs someone is living in a high vibrational state. Can you share what those 4 signs are?
I love this. Yeah, if you notice, like, animals are, like, coming over to you, right?
Calmly and just, like, loving. Yeah.
I was at a friend's house the other day. She's like, boy, my dog is always growling and biting people, and this dog is, like, in my face, like, wanting me to pet it. So, cats are always at your legs. The dog that no one likes is kind of like trying to get your attention. Animals like you. Friends and family members are asking your advice. They want your counsel. They're interested in kind of your point of view. And do you ever have that kind of baby that is just always staring at you? You walk by babies and they're like kind of caught up in your aura. They're like staring at you.
Yeah, if it was an adult, it'd be a creep. But since it's a cute baby, you're like, I keep staring for like 5 minutes into my soul. You know?
Yeah, and you're staring back. Yeah, those are some really easy ways to tell that.
If it was an adult, you'd be in jail.
Right,
But if
exactly.
it's a baby, it's different.
Yeah, those are some ways just to show that like you have a higher frequency, that you're resonating at a higher frequency.
So if animals like you, friends, family ask for your counsel, babies stare at you.
Staring at you, things just seem to go your way.
It's like you have luck all the time.
Not all the time, but it seems like
Seems like things go your way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's good. And why do you think animals and babies or people can intuitively sense when someone is in a high energy state? Like, what is that? What is that energy, that aura, that essence? Is it a belief that someone is living within? Is it a calm? Is it a relaxed state? Is it, can you trick them? Can you trick animals or babies to like, hey, I'm this charismatic like human, but really be negative inside?
Yeah, especially horses, they know.
They feel it.
Yeah, they feel it. So that is our true essence. That's our truth, right? We have this ability to sense things. And that's why I always say when we're about to do a session that has trance or hypnosis work, like lock up your babies, lock up your dogs and cats. I say it jokingly, because as soon as you get into that theta state, they're like, oh, you're here too? What are you doing here? And they jump on you. But we all have this innate wisdom to be able to sense the vibration and energy. And it's just our mind's so loud we second guess it. But we're all feeling it. We're feeling the energy of each other in the first second. Feeling it from when we walk in the room. If the person's in another room, you can just feel it.
Yeah.
And when you quiet down your mind, you know. We all have.
It's so interesting because I feel like I've always, I struggled with not feeling like I had the smarts or the skills from school to be useful for people in life, because I was in the bottom of my class all through school. So I had this belief like, I'm not good in school. Can I be useful in life? But as I started to play sports and I started to learn human dynamics of teamwork, of being coachable, of coaching others, of just like in a dynamic of we're setting up for a goal, we're practicing, we're going through challenges and overcoming them together, and we're accomplishing goals or we're failing at them, but we're learning lessons together and kind of enduring this season of sports. I started to understand people better. Yeah. And I said, oh, okay, maybe I don't have skills or smarts here from school subjects and like memorizing stuff for tests. But when it comes to sports and mobilizing a goal and trying to accomplish that within a groups of people, I can excel. And I'm actually really good. And I'm very talented in this side of life. But I remember going into, after my sports career was over, and I was like, how do I make money? And and everyone's asking about your resume and about the college degree and like, what was your GPA? This is back in like 2007, 8. I was like, I can't show them any of those things because I didn't have any skills from that world.
Right.
But I don't know if this sports stuff would translate into a career or a business. So I was really concerned about it. I was like, will I ever make money? I have no idea. And early on, I started attending these kind of like social media meetups. And I just went in there with like curiosity and joy. And so I was just going in for fun. I was meeting people, I was asking questions. I was like, man, what you're doing is so cool over here. And I was just curious the whole time. And by doing that and asking questions and kind of bringing that energy, people just wanted to help me. And so I started to go to a lot of events, and I started to build relationships. And I just brought energy and joy and positivity to these events, knowing that I couldn't bring like some skill from a work career because I didn't have a work career, but I had energy, I had passion, I had curiosity. I had like a sense of like wonder and love for what people were doing and what they overcame. And I always found that people just wanted me to they wanted to invite me to the next thing, and they wanted to introduce me to this person, and that led to something.
Because you made them feel in a different way. They don't
That's what
care
it
what
is.
you know, it's how you feel.
It's it. And so I just really leaned into that. And anytime I felt self-conscious, like, man, I have nothing to offer these individuals. Like, everyone here is smarter than me, way more talented. I was like, but when I enter this room, I can stand up a little taller, I can smile, and I can ask questions and be curious. And I can bring joy to what people are talking about. And I felt like that was one of the greatest skills that I brought for many years, and probably still bring, because I still don't feel like I'm the smartest person ever in any room, but I can bring positive energy and joy and curiosity. And I think people are craving that. So you got to look at what are the resources you can bring to a situation that raises your frequency and raises the energy in any room to be of service to those individuals.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point. How do you think you learned that? How did you know? in
Survival,
2007?
because I was like, the housing market crashed and the economy was down at this time, and I was like, how do I get a job? I don't know. I was living on my sister's couch for a year and a half.
Someone else might have gone a different route. How did you know that you were going to go with curiosity? And
I think because I didn't have the skill from school. I didn't have like a high GPA or like skills from school. So it was survival. It was like, how do I get into a room? How do I get a seat at the table? How do I meet these people? Let me show up at the event and let me ask questions.
Yeah.
Because I can't say something like I know what I'm talking about. So I just didn't speak about anything I knew. I just asked questions and said, what do you know?
And guess what? People like to be asked questions.
They love it. They love it. And they were like, I would ask questions. I wouldn't say anything about myself. And at the end of the night, people were like, this is the most interesting guy in the room. And no one knew anything about me.
Right, yeah.
But I was just like fascinated with people. I was like, man, how'd you do this? Man, tell me more. This is incredible. And people were like, I like this guy. Yeah. Come meet this person. And
Be curious. Anybody listening to this in their business or dating life, like find some authentic, curious questions to ask.
Absolutely, yeah.
People like to be listened to.
That's it, man. Jim, I appreciate this. I got two final questions for you. Before I do, I want people to follow you, Jim Curtis, on social media. Jim Curtis 1
Jim
on
Curtis 1.
On social media. Do you have a website too where people can go
Jim
to?
Curtis 1.
JimCurtis1.com.
Yep.
They can check it out there. Mm-hmm. Cool. But you got a lot of great content if people are looking for affirmations and mantras and just great inspiration to serve you if getting out of anxiety or stress. Check you out on social media. A lot of great content there. And I want to acknowledge you, Jim, for, all that you've endured and overcome for 3 decades of pain. Because I know how challenging life can be when you feel constant pain, fatigue, stress in your body. It can feel daunting. It can feel like it's so hard to overcome. Like, is there ever going to be a relief? Am I going to be stuck like this for the rest of my life? It can feel like the biggest weight in the world holding you down. So I want to acknowledge you for not letting that weight define you, but redefining who you are and continually evolving your identity to be of service to humanity by learning new skills, by learning new resources, by finding new skills to serve your mind and your body to be whole and free again, and being a a messenger of hope for other people who might be experiencing something in their life, physically or mentally, that's holding them back. So I want to acknowledge you for the journey you're on, and the process of you continually showing up and being of service. I appreciate you doing that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
This is a question I ask everyone towards the end. It's called the 3 truths. So imagine hypothetically, you get to live as long as you want, but it's your last day on earth. And many years in the future. And on this last day, you have accomplished everything you want in your life. And you've experienced life to the fullest, and you've seen all your dreams come to reality, physically, spiritually, materially, everything. But it's the last day. And on the last day, in this hypothetical world, you've got to take all of your work with you. Your content, your message, your book, this video, anything you've ever shared with the world, it's got to go with you to the next place when you pass. So we don't have access to your content anymore. But you do get to leave behind 3 things that you know to be true, 3 lessons from all of your experience, and we do get to keep that. What would be those 3 lessons or 3 truths for you that you would leave behind?
That's amazing. We are not defined by our pain or our body. We are greater than our pain and our body. We are not defined by it. All people, all of us, every one of us are at our core, our very, very core need that drives everything else that we possibly do in life is love. That's our core need, our core desire, our core everything. We want to be loved and to love something, someone. And the third is we are in our reality. Our current outer reality is always shaped by our inner reality. And both of those are mutable, meaning we can change them, we can craft them, we can affect them.
I love those. And final question, what's your definition of greatness?
A definition of greatness is your contribution to the world. Not what you have, but who you can actually impact.
Yeah. Jim Curtis, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
So we have to all align and stop trying to just make things happen or make business happen or make love happen and connect to, wait a minute, what is actually meant for me? Dating, same thing. Trying to take, just because you're attracted to a woman doesn't mean she's yours. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's part of your vessel.